My personal story is nothing shy of wild. I was a full-time alcoholic, drug addict, criminal, basically my whole adult life. My last stint in prison just woke me up, and I decided that I was really going to be a law-abiding human being and turn my life around. But I knew that if I was going to do that, I needed to understand my disease. I developed and cracked a code for people who struggle with addictive behaviors. It's a 40-day course, around 40 minutes a day. You're not just getting the content, but you're getting the science inside that content being delivered to you. Our own proprietary algorithms allow the course to be custom tailored to the individual. So no two people can ever take the same program twice. If you think that my product can offer some positive assistance in people's lives and help families get back together, I would love to do a collab.
Welcome to our Afluencer podcast for our wellness, self-help, lifestyle, health-focused type influencers. This episode is for you. We have Spencer Cook. He's the founder of SoberIn40. It's an overnight success that he's been building for 10 years and investing into the product and team and technology here. So we're going to get into Spencer's story. We're also going to talk about the collab opportunity, what SoberIn40 does, how it's different from other recovery programs, how it's not just a program. So lots to discuss here. So Spencer, welcome. And maybe you could kick things off with your personal story. What inspired you here to create SoberIn40?
My personal story is nothing shy of wild. I was a full-time alcoholic, drug addict, criminal, basically my whole adult life. I just couldn't get it, in and out of jail all the time. And my last stint in prison just woke me up. And I decided that I was really going to be a law-abiding human being and turn my life around. But I knew that if I was going to do that, I needed to understand my disease. So I just started getting real deep into understanding my disease, and I knew that if I couldn't understand my disease, then I had no chance in managing life on life's terms when I got out. So it was really a selfish thing. I wasn't planning on doing this for a business, but then I realized that this was my passion and my calling.
So you did this really to keep yourself on the
track. So I was getting tens of thousands of dollars worth of books, all written by PhDs, all about addiction and understanding the psyche. And I was writing down like a whole addiction Bible for myself, just what worked for me. I wrote it down. Whatever didn't work, I threw it out. And I knew that I needed to understand my disease when I came out of prison so I can be a normal, law-abiding human being.
How does the program work then? Is it just a compilation then of your notes? And then what did you eventually turn that into?
So I developed and cracked a code for people who struggle with addictive behaviors, alcoholism, criminal behaviors. They struggle with two main psyche phenomenons. And one of them is called cognitive dissonance. And another one is called emotional bias. So I cracked the code on these two main phenomenons. And I use that in my program for the delivery method. So you basically watch these little micro videos all throughout the day. It's a 40-day course, around 40 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day, give or take more or less. And you get the delivery of my content through micro videos. And then you're not just getting the content, but you're getting the science inside that content being delivered to you. And then after you watch the videos, to get to the next part in the app, you have to answer questions. And this is where the emerging technology comes into play. So I hired engineers from Meta, Space Force, IRS, Samsung, Snowflake, and we developed our own proprietary algorithms that allow the course to be custom tailored to the individual. So no two people can ever take the same program twice. So as you interact with my program, we figure out what you're struggling with. We figure out what you need help with. And then we custom tailor those questions based on what you're struggling with. So the secret sauce is in our first, second, and third generation follow-up questions for the consumer.
So gotcha. So questionnaire up front then? Yeah, that's very cool. Kind of AI before AI or your own.
So you're not feeling like you're getting worked on by ChatGPT or anything, but the AI is deeply embedded in the program and how it's delivered to you.
Yeah, gotcha. And the decisions were baked in, your developers made those. And then is it, what's the input? There's a questionnaire up front that the user's taking
Well,
about
in the beginning,
themselves?
we have an onboarding process,
Okay.
and we figure out if you're right for the program or not. The program's geared for people of outpatient levels of care, so people who are in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth inning of the ball game, who need help, and then it's designed for those people before they really screw up their lives. And then it's also designed for the people who get out of an inpatient and need another aftercare program after that.
Okay. When did you launch the program?
About 2 weeks ago.
Oh, 2 weeks. You're straight. Okay.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, we finally just launched the program, fully approved on Apple, the Apple App Store. That was a huge hurdle.
Big process to get, the Apple approval.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been through that before.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. How long then from start? So you said about 10 years from start to finish from when were you literally in jail when you started reading these books and the research?
Yeah, I was in prison.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing a 20-year sentence.
Yeah. Wild. So you spent that time starting the research, laying kind of the groundwork for the program.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done my research and survived in the real world and kept up with everything that's going on in the real world and done this at the same time. So in essence, being in prison was a blessing.
Because you had the sole focus. And
people don't realize, like, when you're in prison and you're stuck in a cell, it's very easy to hyper focus on something if it's in front of you. In the real world, you got a million different things, a million different apps, people, everything coming at you, people wanting things from you, the whole world, the bills pile up. It's like you don't have too much focus time out here.
Right. And it's only kind of getting worse.
It took me about 7 years to write the program.
Okay.
And then 3 years to finance it, fund it, develop it myself with my coders and my developers, and get it to the point where we can integrate our AI technology and my program, and then develop the program and do all the hundreds of video edits. And it's people don't realize, like, when you download a simple app, just a simple app, what it takes to create that.
To go into it. Yeah. Is it you on the videos?
No.
Okay. So it's all.
So I use avatars.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are studies out there that suggest that people who are struggling, they trust avatars and they trust robots more than they trust human beings.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. For the simple fact that judgment plays a big role in the attention. So if I feel like you're judging me, I'm not going to be hyper focused on what you're telling me.
You turn it off if you think you're being judged.
So when you're taking my program, it's you, yourself, and you, and you, yourself, and you doing the program.
Gotcha.
You're hyper focused.
There's no oversight, no oversight, potential judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also humans feel like computers are more ethical.
Because they're pure logic.
Yeah, because it's got to follow an algorithm. It can't divert.
Right into the judgment zone. That's interesting. Did you have beta users on it before you launched it? How'd you kind of fine tune it?
We got about 120 beta testers.
Yeah.
Of all different sorts of stages of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
The latest person who took it I think he had 13 years of sobriety. And he says that this completely elevated his level of his game of sobriety, all the way to people who are newly getting sober within weeks, and people obviously who wanted to get sober. So we had all different data points of people and stress points, and making sure the algorithms worked properly. And my head forensic psychologist he's got 3 offices with 45 psychologists working for him. Beyond impressed. He was my biggest critic for 5 months, telling me I'm selling snake oil.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the program. He took the 40-day program in like 30 days. And he calls me up at 2:30 in the morning, and he's like, "This is the greatest thing I touched in 30 years." He's like, "This program acts like a top tier 1% professional in my industry, but you could do it millions of times at the same time." He goes, "This is insane."
Yeah, scales that top 1% professional. That's awesome.
So there's this thing in psychology called psychological profiling. So people who go to school to become a psychologist, they learn how to create a psychological profile on you. But the problem with this is it's based on human intelligence. right? Human error. There's a human bias behind the profiling. So I create the psychological profiling within my algorithms just without the human bias. So it really works even better than a human. But I'm not trying to take away the human interface.
Right. You're bringing you're bringing the scale and accessibility also for I
And the
assume for a
tool.
lot of the people who are hesitant to go to the human, to your previous point, right?
Yeah, a lot of people who are professionals, they just struggle with asking for help. And there's really in people who have good professions, there's no incentives to ask for help. A doctor can't publicly tell his office or his peers or his his job that he has a problem with alcohol. He'll lose his license. A cop will lose his gun and be on desk duty for 2 years with a mental health issue on his file. A teacher will lose her classroom. A lawyer will have his bar suspended. I mean, there's really no incentive for professionals to ask for help when they know they're struggling with a problem. And what happens is that they don't ask for help, and then their disease materializes and exponentially gets worse and throughout the years, and then they just lose it all. They lose their home, they lose their cars, they lose their kids, they lose their job. And it's like such a shame because a whole talent went to waste, and all that money that they spend in society to become a professional has gone out the window. So you get to ask for help without really asking for help with my program, and it's totally anonymous.
How are you marketing this now, Spencer? That's always the other side of this, right? There's the product development side, and then we get it to market. Sounds like you've got the product market fit, which is great. And now it's a matter of how do we get this out there? You're in the Apple App Store, iTunes Store, whatever they call it. These days, it's all great, but now you got to get the eyeballs on it, right? So how are you approaching this next challenge here?
I'm trying to do it slow and steady. I'm trying to find the right collaborators, the real people who believe in my product, who have the audience for my product. And, if you believe in my product, if you think that my product can offer some positive assistance in people's lives and help families get back together, I would love to do a collab with you. And, I'm selectively picking the people because I want to make sure that we're dealing with the right people. But at the same time, if you think you're fit for my company, contact me. Let's do a collab.
That's great. Did you have, and we'll get the link to your collab below the show notes here, so our influencers can apply to the SoberIn40 Revolution is the name of the collab. Did you always have influencers in mind as you were developing your product and then figuring out how you wanted to get it to market in terms of, hey, there's different things I could do. Do I want to buy ads? Do I want to go with influencers? Was that always kind of a thought to go with the influencers, creators, do the collabs, the collaboration?
Influencers are super important because people trust them if they really have a foothold on their audience. And a personal referral, you can't beat that over an ad. If someone who I know or I follow says, look, I know I push products, but I've used this product and it's legit, I'm taking their word over a Google ad. So yeah, collabs are super important, but if they're the right ones, it's even better.
Yeah. Makes sense. And you mentioned before we hopped on the call here, large, I guess, addressable market. It's kind of it's a sad statistic, but just the number of people who have a family member, right, who struggles with addiction. And I guess, long story short, it could be you don't necessarily know where your next partner is coming from, right? Because they might be more like they know that this is something
And a lot of addicts are hiding their problems, so you don't even know they're addicts. They're holding on to these secrets, and they're handling their addiction on their own. So 2/3 of every American family say that they have at least one or more alcohol or drug addicts in their family. So it doesn't matter where you come from, your ethnicity, who you believe in, it doesn't matter your culture, what you do for a living. Addiction does not discriminate against anybody.
Where do you see AI going, and automation, machine learning, whatever we want to call it, in your field here, both in addiction and I guess healthcare in general? What are you looking at next in terms of trends on
Really
that front?
cool. So we're preparing for the next 3 years out, and we're experimenting with our own machine learning algorithms. So real soon, and the neurotechnology industry. We're coming at this with in one direction with the machine learning algorithms and the other with the neurotechnology hardware. So we're gonna in the next 4 years, we will have machine learning algorithms help take things out of your subconscious mind. So we will be able to, with our algorithms, learn your answers. Let's just say on day 3, you're talking about a situation that happened with a family member who probably inappropriately touched you. Just something, I'm making something up. And then you just briefly spoke on it. You didn't get into detail, but you just briefly spoke on it. And then on day 19, you start talking about how you hate when your family comes over for Thanksgiving. My machine algorithms will put and basically put things in categories of what's triggering you and wait for you to deliver that information to us on the back end. So we will be able to indirectly ask you in a very strategic way, perhaps, and I'm not saying this the right way, but perhaps, did that situation in the 3rd grade have any linkage to why you hate when your family comes over? Right, and take things out of your subconscious mind. And with the neurotechnology industry, you will be able to take my program with a headset. So as you're answering my questions, you might be answering my questions, but your brainwave function is getting delivered to us in our central location. So we have terabytes worth of brainwave function related to early childhood trauma, sexual molestation, substance abuse, PTSD, all different categories of brainwave function. And then when you're answering my questions, we will have all these timestamps of the brainwave function you're sending to us. And then we will be able to cross collateralize the brainwave function to whatever it's triggering, if we can have matches, and then use that to deliver our follow-up questions. So we're getting your brainwave function on. It's more than just what you're communicating with us. So I see technology being an amazing player in elevating and lowering statistics on recidivism and helping with substance abuse and alcoholism, and also criminal mentality.
That's wild. So kind of a cross-reference then, or another data point where there's the words, like if I'm taking your course and I've got the headset on, there's the words I'm saying, and then there's what my brain waves are
you have
doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And being able to custom tailor someone's program, like, addiction is so complex. No one could have walked your shoes in life but you. You know what I mean? So a lot of these programs today, they're like cookie cutter programs. They're just trying to take like a square peg and shove it in a round hole. So we have to use technology to really custom tailor people's programs and also make it adaptable. So like, we're getting into the prison system right now. My program will be able to show that it's strong enough to handle the prison system, the environment of the prison system, right? It's not a good environment to get sober and healthy, but if we can show that we can get people sober and healthy in the prison system, and it's also versatile and flexible enough to handle little Johnny, 20 years old, smoking pot with his friends in college, the program is adaptable to anybody because of our algorithms.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to pick your brain, Spencer. I got 2 final kind of advice questions for you from a business owner standpoint. So first one, you're looking to start someone watching this, listening, looking to start a business with a social mission, focus on technical innovation, but let's talk about the social side. What's your advice in terms of, what would you advise them? How do you balance that in terms of the business and the social?
If your heart and your passion and your purpose is not in it, don't just do it for the money, because you can, the data points say there's money in this, and there's money anywhere in the world, and in any industry, there's money. There's money in collecting trash. If your heart and your passion and your love is just not at a 10, be patient, find something else, because you only have one life to live, and you're gonna need all that stuff when business sucks and when it's not fun. There's a lot of people with the internet, they only show and glamorize the good parts of being an entrepreneur and a business owner, But they don't show the parts when they can barely pay their bills, or when they're crying alone, and when they're stressed out, or when they can't sleep. No one wants to show that part of being an entrepreneur.
No, I mean, that's not the glamorous side. I think it's great advice because that's what gets you through the day to day. You have to be into it. You have to like it. And it's kind of your enthusiasm for it. And I've started companies with people who, the enthusiasm just kind of wanes at a certain point. I've seen it in them, and then it becomes very challenging because they're dragging, because now you're not making money because you don't make money for a long time, and it's really a terrible way to make money. Like, go do, like you said, go do something else to make money. So you got to kind of believe in what you're doing, and that's got to be your
If you
core.
have a motivating problem with people around you, you're collaborating and you're working with the wrong people. A lot of people can talk the talk and sell you that they want to be a part of something, and then 3 months later they're burnt out. They're like, I'm not having fun, or it's it's not for me. And great, leave, take it easy. That's what I'm doing with my collaborators. If my collaborators don't love my product and they're really not into it, I don't want them even near it. It's got to be perfect.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. So last one for me then, in a related note on hiring, I want to hear your preference in the hiring decisions that you make.
So I always make sure that whoever I'm hiring, I can trust them. If I can't trust you, we're not doing business. I'll find other people I can trust. I mean, and look, trust is hard. So you got to be selective. Another thing is I need to make sure that they have a higher power in their life. I know it's a lot of people don't believe in a higher power. I need someone to believe in a higher power, because shit always hits the fan. And if you don't have a higher power with you, and when shit hits the fan, you're alone, you're folding. And another thing, I know this is very unorthodox, but my COO, my director of reentry affairs, they're all career criminals just like me. If I know this is crazy, it's outlandish, it's unorthodox, but I have to envision the person that I'm doing business with if they can do time in a cell. And I know it sounds crazy, and I'll tell you why. It's not because I know where you came from, but most people who have changed their lives and they're living a miracle, who have been in a prison cell for a long amount of time, they have this ability to stay calm and cool and collected and get down to the new reality. And in business, shit never goes according to plan, ever. So you have to be able to move and shake according to the situation and adapt to certain things. And I find that people that have done prison time are masters at it because they had no choice but to do it. So like my COO, she's a career criminal just like me, ex-drug addict. Turned her whole life around, came out of prison, became a keynote speaker, international speaker, a social worker, a good job in a university. Like, I find people like that because these are the people who we're selling. We sell change. We sell a new perspective on life. You give someone a new perspective on life, you just change their world. That's what we sell. So who better to bring into the company than the people who we're creating that change for? So, you take a CEO guy who never did a day of time in his life, or never had a hardship, or what does he have in common with our clientele, right? How are we supposed to trust him? He can't understand where these people are coming from. So I like to, it's a privilege to find people who have done serious prison time, because I know that they can withstand tough times mentally. And business is not always fun. That's what I've discovered. It's really not fun. It's like golf. Like, you can have a shitty round of golf, but one or two good hits and you're coming back. That's what business is like. You have one good day in a week. I put out fires all day long. This is what we do. We put out fires. We just deal with problems. And if you're gonna get a working relationship with somebody, make sure that they can put out fires, they can deal with problems, and they're real mentally strong. So for me, I like to find people who have done prison time in the cell.
Yeah,
I know
that's
unorthodox, but
brings a whole new meaning to the we eat our own dog food in the product side. But I'm curious, Spencer, then, is it that you've kind of seen it all at that point, so there's nothing that could rattle you? Is that like the day to day, you have a crappy day business wise, you're like, well, it's my worst day here is nothing compared to what I've been through, so you just kind of stay calm through it? Is that
It's a different type of bullshit. It's just a
Mhm.
different type of headache.
Yeah.
But if you've done real serious prison time and you're a miracle story and a turnaround story, you can handle anything under the sun, under this life. As long as you're breathing, you can handle it. Because the type of, high risk, high tension situations that I've been in, it's almost prepared me for the business world to be able to read people, understand people, look through people, judge people, make sure that they're genuine in what they're doing, what their angle is, just trying to find the right people to collaborate with. And, businesses, you can make 10 million mistakes in business. So being able to really use an energy field and look through people and analyze people the right way is really key in business.
Well, Spencer, thanks so much for joining. It's been a really fun conversation, unique. I think
Likewise.
I don't know if we've gone in all these depths on the podcast before. This has been great. So we've got the SoberIn40 Revolution. It's the collab. And again, we'll get the link here, and just a wonderful discussion with Spencer. So all these opportunities to collab with them. I should mention a very high commission rate also. So very generous commission percentage on Spencer's plan. So that if it does work out with him, I mean, he's, as you can tell, into the win-win, an opportunity to make money alongside him as he grows his business and platform, and really great stuff. So thanks again, Spencer. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks for having me.